Hey folks, this is Drupajyoti from the community engineering team at Harness. In this video, we will see how you can build and test a sample React workflow in Harness CI. So without any further ado, let's begin. So what we will cover in this video? In this video, firstly, we will see how you can set up a sample React workflow in Harness CI for the React application hosted in GitHub, and then create a Docker image for the same and build and push the image to Docker Hub from Harness CI. So let's see what do we require in order to get started with this demo. First of all, we will require you to have an Harness account, which will be hosted at app.harness.io. Then we require a GitHub account, which is going to act like the source code manager for you. And then we'll require a Docker Hub account where we'll be pushing in our image in the Docker registry. The source code that we will be using in this particular demo is hosted in this particular repository at Harness community. So you can go and fork that repository to your personal account and then use it. Again, the entire pipeline execution YAML file is also available under the .harness folder in this repository. So you can copy paste the YAML file and directly have the pipeline set up in your Harness CI's visual editor. But if you want to follow through in the step-by-step process, you can also do that. So let me directly jump to the Harness application and get this started. Now I'll directly jump into app.harness.io and click on the sign up button at the bottom corner. And here I'll go ahead with sign up with email option. I'll use my demo alias email ID. You can use your personal email ID or your official email ID, which one you prefer. Make sure you give a valid password here, which should be a strong password. And once you have given that, just click on the sign up button. Now, once I click sign up here, it will send me a verification link in my email address, and I'll just click on the verification link to verify my email address. And perfect, my email is verified successfully. Now it will redirect me back to the Harness application, and here if you see, we can have all the modules listed here: CD, CI, feature flags, and CCM. I'll move ahead with CI for this demo and click on get started. For code repository, we are using GitHub, so I'll say GitHub and OAuth for um, authentication. I'll be using my GitHub account. I'll just use my credentials here. You can use your credentials and click on sign in. Now I'll just verify my authentication using my GitHub mobile. Now this happens if you have enabled GitHub two-factor authentication for your GitHub account, which is a best practice. So perfect. I'll press on continue and it will redirect me back to the Harness app and the connection is successful. Perfect. So I'll click on continue and now I select my repository. So I have already forked the Harness app community repository for the React application. I'll just go and search for it. That's a React pipeline sample. Perfect. And I'll click on continue. And here I have multiple configurations available for me, but in this case, I'll just move ahead with the starter pipeline. Perfect. So it will take few seconds and set me up my CI pipeline. You can see we already have a inbuilt default configuration with a stage and a run step. So if I move to the run step here, you see there is a echo command running. If I move to the infrastructure, it's hosted builds with the operating system Linux and the architecture is AMD64. Perfect. So I'll be using my default configuration for getting started. Now you can refer to the YAML file in the GitHub repository as well. So let me just go and change the stage and create a run step for installing my node modules. Perfect. The next step would be to create another run step for building my React application. So I'll just create another build step here. So I say build application and I'm running the command npm run build, which will build my React application. Apply changes. The last step here would be to add build and push to Docker Hub, where we'll be building our image and pushing it to Docker Hub. So I'll again use my default configuration where we are using runtime input for the Docker connector in the repository, and the tags that I'm using is latest, right? Perfect. And in the optional configuration, we'll define the Docker file, which is stored in the GitHub repository. Amazing. So let's click on apply changes. The next step is to configure our code base. So here we'll be creating a GitHub connector. So if you see, we don't have a connector right now. So I'll just click on new connector here and click on GitHub connector. And let's give it a name. Let's say GitHub connector. Perfect. Continue. In the details, I'll go ahead with account and HTTP. Here I'll give my GitHub account URL. And The next thing would be to define a test repository, which I'll just give a demo name here for my testing the communication between GitHub and Harness application. So let's give it React pipeline sample itself. Perfect. Let's click on continue. Now in the credentials, I'll again define my username. That's a GitHub username that I have. That is, I'll be using my username here. And then we'll be using a personal access token. Now make sure you create a personal access token and then create a new secret here. So let's give it a secret name. I'll say GitHub pat, which is the personal access token, and then copy paste my secret value, which is a pat I've generated from GitHub. Now click on enable API access and then again use the same pat secret that I have created and click on continue. For connection, we'll use connect through the Harness provider and then it will check for the connection test. It's verified. Perfect. Apply changes, but again, I have to define my repository name as well. So let's give the repository name. Let's React pipeline sample. And let's click on apply changes. Perfect. Let's save our pipeline now. And perfect. Let's run our pipeline and see how the execution looks like. So here, if you see, it automatically fetches my main branch. Now for Docker connector, again, we don't have a connector, so I'll be creating a new connector here. So let's give it a name, say Docker connector. And in the details section, I'll use a Docker registry URL. I'll define my username. And then again, I'll generate a secret. That's a personal access token for Docker Hub and define it here as another secret at Harness application. I'll copy paste the values and save it. Perfect. That's good to go. And continue again, connect through Harness platform and it will check for the connection and it's verified. Perfect. Now for the repository, I'll be using the repository that I've created already. I'll just copy paste, that's test React and run the pipeline. Perfect. So as you see, the execution is currently running live. We have two views, like that's one is a visual view and then there we have the console view as well. So let's jump into the console view and if you see, the steps are currently running. The install node module step is currently running right now. And in the meantime, I can also jump in to edit my pipeline while the execution is live. Now I can check out the execution history by just click on execution history tab. I can see all the concurrent runs here as well as in the build section for multiple pipelines. We can check out the multiple pipeline runs here. So if I move to the pipelines right now, this was a manual execution, but you can also create automated executions just by introducing something known as triggers. So let me just show you that as well. So you can define your own triggers. Now Harness automatically defines triggers for you, but you can also change the configuration and define it according to your requirement. Perfect. So I'll fast forward the entire execution and see how the successful build looks like. Perfect. And as you can see, my build is currently running and it's successful. Perfect. So if you see here, we have a successful build and my image is published in the Docker Hub. This is the tag that we use, that is test React latest. And if you see, it's a few seconds ago pushed by myself and it's a success. And you can also check out the mean duration, the success rate of the pipeline execution and everything here. Perfect. So thank you for joining us in this video and make sure you join the Slack channel for more updates on upcoming videos.